So, I was just doing some audio testing, right? And I suddenly got the idea. I really do think I could just rant, not even rant, I could just gush about games I like. I mean, I'm I love talking about things I like, and I find that oftentimes I don't have people to talk to them about. I mean, I do, of course, but then it just becomes some cyclic loop of us talking and reinforcing our ideas about this one game until we can't talk about it anymore. You know? When I first played Elden Ring, I remember it clearly. It was sometime in winter, and the game came out at like 12 or 1 a.m. GMT. I'm in the UK, so all these games come out at awkward times. Anyway, the game came out. It was exam season. I was tired as fuck. All my friends were. We're all quite studious, you could say, so we all really were fucking knee deep in our books, you know? And we're all doing STEM courses, so yeah, it was a lot. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, it was a cold winter morning, and Elden Ring had just launched. What a magical time. Seriously. The just mystery of the world. It's like you don't know how big it is. You don't know how long the game is, but it's long. It's truly a magical experience. Now, I'm not going to say the game is perfect. Obviously, well, just the first thing that comes to mind is performance issues when the game came out. Yeah, it was terrible. I remember walking out of the hero's grave and seeing the tree sentinel and thinking, oh my god, my frames. What am I gonna do? I ignored it because the game was so good. Walking down the Limgrave and seeing the dragon burnt ruins, opening a chest, getting fog puked into your face, bleh, bleh, and getting sent to these mines where these insects are shooting these homing projectiles at you and dying because you're underleveled for the area. The developers knew what they were doing. Truly made for some memorable experiences that will be remembered for years and years. Hey, I'd wager decades. Yeah, you'd leave these mines and you'd enter Caelid for the first time, seeing the red skies, just endless horror and tormented flesh. It was really some depiction of hell, and everything was stronger than you. It was just scary. You had to be careful. And then you couldn't even warp out because there was some restriction on it, because it was a trap that sent you there. And you had to escape Caelid. And that was memorable. That's just one thing about Elden Ring. That's only the early game. Like, first 10 hours. You know what else is in the early game? Fucking Shifra. You know? You go into the Mistwood. You hear a howling amongst the fog. You don't know what it is. There's slumbering bears dotted around the woods. And if you kill them, you can loot. I think it was a dragon heart. Maybe that was only in the beta. Whatever. That's not the point. You hear howling. And you may have Googled a guide. But whatever happens, you go and talk to Kale. He's a merchant. You talk to him often. It just makes sense. And you can bring up this howling to him. And he tells you that that's Blythe, or Blythe. And he tells you of a gesture, a finger snap. And with that, you can emote to Blythe, and he will hop down and tell you of his burdensome quest. He's here to kill some guy, and you can go help him. And I just realized this isn't the point I'm trying to make, but whatever. It makes for a memorable moment. You go kill this guy, you get the Bloodhound Fang, coolest weapon in the early game, in my opinion. Sue me. Well, that depends on what your parameters for the early game are. Like, I guess there might be some cooler ones, but it's a cool weapon nonetheless. Geez, can you tell I was a Dex player? Fucking lame. Always a Dex player. I think that's why I like Sekiro so much. But that's besides the point. So you go into the Mistwood, and there's this structure. You enter it for the first time. You place your stone sword key into the little gargoyle socket, and you enter. And inside, you find an elevator. You walk to the center of the room, stand on the plate, and you descend. And you go down, and down, and down. The elevator ride doesn't stop. It's a constant descent. You go down, down, seeing the jagged rocks all around you. And then, for the first time, the cavern opens. In front of you, you see a vast array of color. Blues, purples, reds, the entire spectrum of cold to warm colors. You see stars dotted around the sky, an endless night. And that moment is truly magical. I saw that on my first day playing Elden Ring. Technically, it was my second session. And it left a very profound impression on me. It was just a very special moment. And I remember exactly how I felt, however many years later it is now. It came out 2022, so it's 2025, so like 2 and a bit years, 3 years maybe? Wow. I remember fighting Margit for the first time. That fight really challenged me. It's because, unlike in Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1, the only 2 games I had played, I haven't touched Dark Souls 2. I do mean to. I have a friend constantly telling me. It's the greatest FromSoft game, he says. And when Miyazaki revealed that that was his favorite game, we wouldn't hear the fucking end of it. But that's besides the point. Margit. He was different. It's like he holds his attacks. He's waiting for you to dodge, to run your stamina dry before striking you, and waiting for you to regenerate and restarting the cycle. Gosh, what a great first boss. And I did not beat him initially before discovering the shortcut around Stormvale Castle. And I found that shortcut, and I just wandered through into Liurnia. An endless riverlands. It was very cool. I realized, though, I should have been there, and that I really should beat Margit first. You know what's funny? You know the throne room after Godric? I actually stumbled into that throne room before defeating Godric. So I just waltzed in after finding that shortcut to Liurnia, and I was so confused. I saw these messages on the ground saying, "I did it! Well done, guys!" And I was just perplexed. Like, huh? What did I do? What is this great achievement? Of course, the context was granted to me once I actually beat Godric, and then I was like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. I actually got stuck on what's her name? Renala? Yeah, I got stuck on Renala. First phase was easy. Second phase, though, I died to that beam attack so many times. You know, I feel like an idiot looking back, but it is what it is, I guess. Um, really, it's just skill issue. Should have seen the beam come and just dodge, run around her. I don't even think you need to dodge looking back at it now. Um, yeah, I beat her, and in my opinion, once you do that, the game truly opens. The world becomes your oyster. Suddenly, you're at a point in the game where you have enough strength to really do anything. Of course, you can do anything at the start of the game, but for me at least, this is the point where I felt like I had enough strength to achieve whatever my ambitions could have been. Truly, I was confused because you can follow the guidance of grace, but I never really did that. I was always one to trailblaze my own path. I did get a lot of the game spoiled, just from Twitter, YouTube Shorts. I'm trying to cut down on YouTube Shorts. It's very difficult. I did delete Twitter though. Quite proud of that. Haven't looked at it since. No movie spoilers or anything. No series spoilers. It's great. Highly recommend it. YouTube Shorts is just a massive waste of time for me. Anyway, that's not the point. So the world becomes your oyster. You can go anywhere you want. And I think what I did was I went to that village, Dominula. Dominula, I think? And I went there and I saw all these old ladies doing this this dance. They were all dancing, they were all celebrating. It was quite disturbing. It was like Midsummer. I think, is that... I'm not going to say what country I think it is because I'm going to get it wrong. Yeah, no, I'm going to get it wrong, so I won't bother. But it was very disturbing. And you go up the hill, you walk up the hill, a little prancy up, and you see the Godskin Apostle. And the music for this fight is insane. It's like da 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 da, whatever. And I beat him rather quickly because I think he was weak to bleed or something. And oh my gosh, that fight is just so cool. It's so cool. You know, if only there was two of them in a very tight arena where you couldn't run around too much and they comboed each other perfectly. That's besides the point. You loot this twin blade, the Godskin Peeler. So fucking cool. Just such a cool weapon. And I remember I got that. Changed my build on the spot. From that point, in my first playthrough, I had one Godskin Peeler, and I had one Twin Blade. That would be my build until I got Eleonora's Pole Blade, upon which I changed my build so that I could delve a bit into, I think, Arcane, so I could properly utilize the bleed stat. That was my build until I got the Rivers of Blood, but fucking boring playthrough. You get the point. Everyone was like this. So, I think at that point, if I'm recounting what happened properly, I went to Redmane Castle, and the fight against Radahn, not difficult, because he did get nerfed by the point I fought him. But for me it was challenging. Not the greatest Souls player. I mean, I've gotten much better now, but at the time, I had only beat Dark Souls 3 and its DLCs once. So, not that good. Oh, and Sekiro. Don't forget. But Sekiro is completely different. It doesn't really carry over to Elden Ring. So, whatever. What was I saying? Redmane Castle. By the time I got to Redmane Castle, the celebratory events had already begun. There was people gathered in the plaza, and there was this, I forget his name now, but there was this guy in a very, I don't want to say almost clownish attire, and he has this line, "Champions!" It's super cool. And he rallies everyone up, and you go and watch a cutscene of Radahn. He's like zombified now. It's you get an impression of what happened to him after his duel with Melania in the Red Caelid Dunes. And he's this husk of what he once was. He's this towering threat on his comically small horse, Leonard. And you descend the elevator, you cross the portal, and you enter, and he's on far shooting these massive gargantuan arrows at you. And you dodge them, you go on torrent, you interact with these summon signs, you call the champions to give you aid. And you fight him, and all of you are just dogging, just slashing all together, just fighting Radahn. And it's awesome. My friend was telling me that he fought Radahn before the nerfs. Because if you don't know, when the game first came out, the game's balancing was all out of whack. People were saying it's too easy, it's too hard, you can never please everyone. But Radahn especially was quite notorious. My friend, he was very prideful, and he didn't want to use summons. He was just fighting Radahn the way you're not supposed to. And he would constantly just say how fucking impossible this fight was. Because he's actually good at the game, unlike me. He did manage to beat the fight that way. I assume with him it's like my way or the highway, you know? I'm not like that. I had to use summons. Like everyone else, I'm sure. I won't assume. Yeah, that fight was cool. And I think after Radahn, that's when I entered the Altus Plateau in proper, I want to say. Yeah, the Altus Plateau was, oh yeah, I couldn't enter it properly because I didn't know about the mine shortcut. Well, it's not really a shortcut, it's like a massive climb. Coolest mine in the game, in my opinion. And then I had to go and get these medallions. I remember, even now, I have no clue where they are. I just kind of got them by playing. Actually, that's a lie. I do remember you get one on like this dragony area, Dragon Barrow in Caelid. There's like this little fort. You can enter it and you can claim a medallion. That's one half. Now, I'm not sure if that medallion is the one for the Dectus elevator, I think it's called. I can't even remember where I got the other one. I want to say it's the area in Liurnia where all the Albinorics are, but logically my brain is telling me that that is actually where you get the Halig Tree medallion, which would make much more sense because it's the Albinorics. They're, forlorn, trying to get to that Halig Tree where they would be welcomed. They'd have a little sanctuary until the Tarnish shows up like 30 hours later. It's rough for them. Right. So I got these two medallions, held them up at the elevator, and the elevator rises. Beautiful cutscene. And you enter Altus Plateau for the first time. And as far as the eye can see, you have this just land of gold. It is profound. The grass is golden. There are these ghostly banners showing what this place once was. The skies are just yellow with these golden tints, and the land is just magical. Truly, the art directors in this game were truly incredible. Seriously, every single land is different. Nothing is the same. And that is so cool to me. How can someone come up with that? I mean, the game did take like years to come out. There was like a teaser, and then we didn't hear anything from them for like 4 years. Crazy. But everyone saw George R. R. Martin was like part of the writing team, and everyone freaked out because it's Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin, which is this crazy combo. I remember it so clearly, man. It was great. Yeah, no, being left in the dark for 4 years was not so fun. But then the gameplay trailer came out. I was watching those Vati video analyzations, and I was so interested, just hyping up this game. 2022. I got a job at McDonald's, so I had plenty of money at the time just to burn. And I bought the game. I pre-ordered. And I wish I got the collector's edition, but that was a mistake I learned from. And I got the collector's edition for the DLC. Got my little Mesmer statue to the left here. God. The DLC is a whole other conversation. But yeah. Man, I love Elden Ring. So you enter the Altus Plateau, and you see this. What did I do again? I didn't really go to Volcano Manor until later. I just didn't really go onto that road. It's really obvious it's there. I just didn't think of it. You know what may have actually led me to Volcano Manor? It was that Shade Castle, I want to say. Because you're collecting these map fragments all over, and you open your map, and you see this castle surrounded by just green. And the map doesn't have green for grass or anything. You can clearly see like it's like acid or poison or something of the kind, and you're just like, what the fuck? What is this? And I remember this was after I defeated Margit. Had to use some Morgott, sorry. My bad. I defeated Morgott. I had to summon in help. Not the greatest at these games. And then why did I do this? Yeah, so rewinding this all back. I defeated Morgott with help, summoned help. And then I beat Rykard, I want to say. And then, no, that's wrong. I was doing the Volcano Manor quest. So, one by one, you have to go kill these NPCs in these fights for, like, assassinations, basically. And then one of them is just outside Shade Castle. I think it's the second one. So, I beat this guy. And I continued onward to this Shade Castle. And, oh my gosh, it was so cool. It's like, yeah, the ground was poisonous, but it was just very different from what I've seen. There was these revenants. Oh my god, they're so scary. Like, they got these like 8 arms. They're like spiders. You don't know me, but I hate spiders. I'm trying to let them grow on me, but it's just the way they walk. It's always like freaked me out since I was a kid. I'm 21, not a kid. and they like teleport around, and they're just horrifying. Couldn't deal with them at the time, at least. So you progress onward and onward and onward, and you see this executioner. No, he's not an executioner. He was this guy from the land of Eokide, I think, if memory serves me correct. I've not played Elden Ring in a long time. Can you tell? Anyway. And the way he uses his weapon, his sword, is so cool. Because he doesn't use it in the normal manner. He just no-hands it. He uses the force, he picks up this weapon, and he just slashes it around him. So cool. That was one of my favorite fights in the game. Not really, but it was really cool, nonetheless. And then, after that, I want to say I went to... Oh, that's right. Once you beat Morgoth... Oh no, but even before. Just, it's in this area. There's this divine tower, and as you're walking this long bridge to it, your surroundings change. They darken. And you enter this world resembling the abyss from Dark Souls. And in the distance, you see these... I want to say there's 2 omens. And they jump you. That was really cool. I didn't really want to mention anything else. That was just cool. And then there's also these forbidden lands that you can enter. And when I was a baby Elden Ring player, I thought these were the same as the barren lands that all these tarnished were exiled to and came from again. It's not, I don't think. That doesn't even matter. So you go down, I want to say, and then you go, yes. You enter another elevator. Elden Ring and its fucking elevators. And you enter the mountaintops of the giants. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm just ad-libbing. Not ad-libbing. I'm just freehanding all this. I don't have a script or notes or anything. This is just all off my memory. You enter the mountaintops of the giants, and I was excited because I heard tales down the grapevine of a legendary weapon. Now, I hate saying this, but at the time I was a bit of a weeb. I enjoyed Japanese media maybe a little bit too much, and I was super into it. I think at the time I was making my way through One Piece. I'm caught up now. I'm reading the chapters weekly. It's great. But at the time, I really liked One Piece. I still do, but I really liked it back then. I had a friend that was mostly caught up with the anime, and we would converse to each other about it. I would binge it and talk to him once I finished an arc, and we had these great conversations. Great guy. That's not the point. The point is that once you enter the mountaintop of the giants, you have access to a new weapon. And the lore behind this, the guy that holds the weapon, is really interesting. The weapon is the Rivers of Blood, obviously. People fell into 2 camps, 2 schools of thought when it came to this weapon. You either had people that really liked it and didn't care that it was strong, just liked the look of the weapon art. It's a cool weapon. And then you get the people that think, nah, fuck that. This shit is so lame, it makes the game easy. I'm gonna stick to my strength weapon or my magic or whatever. Yeah, no, I didn't fall into that category. I was very much not caring about other people's Elden Ring philosophies. No, the game was mine to enjoy. That's how I saw it. And to be honest, I will still think of games like that, even if I take a different approach nowadays. Um, so you get this weapon. I changed my build again. I had to just fully go into arcane. I think level up dexterity a little bit. I think I was actually using the Rivers of Blood in my right hand and an Uchigatana in my left. You know, the good old fashioned bleed and cold combo. It hits. I don't know what else to say. So, with this build, I managed to beat the fire giant in less than 5 attempts, I want to say. Cool fight. Not that difficult though. Just stay on torrent the entire time and you can just dodge everything. I think at that point in the game's life, the strategy where you could lure the giant to walk off a hill and he would just immediately die was just removed. And I would have done that because it would have been really funny, but I never did get around to it. Because it got removed, of course. So you go up this mountain and you reach the top. You walk across these massive chains, clearly not made by the hands of humans or tarnished or whatever. These chains were made by the Forge Master Giants. And it connects the land to this crucible. And in this crucible burns this well, I guess it's not burning at this point, but this crucible is the key to becoming, to burning the roots of the tree, the Erd tree. That's the thing I forgot to mention. If you're listening to this, I'm just assuming that you've played the game. There's this Erd tree, or a grand tree in the center of the world, and you want to become Elden Lord. And to do that, you have to gather enough demigod runes and enter this tree and face the final boss. Stopping you or barring your entry are these impenetrable thorns. And for a long time, you have to figure out, how do I get past this? The answer lies in the mountaintop of the giants, in this crucible, where your companion who's been by your side for the entire game reveals unto you that she has to burn herself to death to burn these thorns. Now, depending on the ending you're going for in the game, things can happen slightly differently. I didn't know about the 3 fingers. I still haven't done that ending. I really should. But I didn't know about it at the time. The Firekeeper burned herself. And you enter the crumbling lands of Farum Azula. Holy shit. This area was so cool. The loss of the maiden was immediately lost on me because I was just enamored by this new area. Dragons flying all over the place. These like floating rock. So cool. And I'm progressing through the area. And I heard tales down the grapevine of this legendary dragon, Placidusax, I want to say. And you waltz down the area and you find this little overhang that you can, of rock, and you jump down and you get the request to lie down. And as you do, time around you stops. and the crumbling lands of Farum Azula slowly reverse their movement. Time is rewinding almost at an exponentially fast rate. And as you're rewinding time through how many years, you find yourself in a bowl, and slumbering in front of you is this three-headed dragon. And from its chest, you can see that clearly it once had more heads. I think in the lore, it was implied that Godfrey took the title of Elden Lord by defeating Placidusax, beheading 2 of its heads. That fight was cool. It looked like it was going to be far more challenging, but perhaps I was overleveled by the point, at the point, and so I just didn't have much difficulty with dispatching of the boss. Sorry, someone's messaged me. Okay. And then you progress through the level and you fight Malekith. What a great fight, man. It's like if you were doing the quest with the dark route with the with this beast clergyman, you'll obviously realize that they're the same person. Questions arise on like how we actually got there, but that's besides the point. The point is that I think it can actually be revealed to you that Farum Azula kind of lies outside of time by a dialogue he can give you. I think, I could be wrong. And you beat his first phase because it's easy, and you enter second phase. And here it's revealed that the beast clergyman was actually Marika's loyal shadow. On his hand, he has an imprint of destined death. And from it, he draws this massive shard of just black rock. And surrounding it are these black flames with red tinges. And it's so cool. And this boss is like a fucking airplane. He's zipping around the walls. He's doing all these sorts of acrobatics, these flying slashes towards you. Great fight. Presentation was phenomenal. I loved this fight. Of course, I needed help. I just summoned. I used summons. I didn't even care at this point. I was having a great time, and that's what mattered to me. Now I wouldn't do that. But at the time, I needed it. I just didn't want to spend like ages on a boss, and that kind of counters my philosophy with games nowadays. But at the time, I just needed the help, and I took it. I didn't want to be in that fight for days because I learned slow. So you fought Malekith, you defeat him, and you touch the rune of destined death. And this is kind of like a no turning back point, because with the unleashing of the rune of destined death, you introduce death back into the world. And this has massive implications because Marika removed it specifically for her empire. And the world around you burns. The once revered Leyndell is literally turned to ash. And once where there was these great cities and towering palisades is just now nothing. It literally a shadow of its former self. That was cool. You enter the capital of Ash, as it was called, and you make your way to fight Godfrey, which you would have fought as a golden apparition earlier on. That's not really him. Godfrey is so cool. or I should say Horalu, the way he introduces himself. I think his pet is called Sorosh. He dispatches of Sorosh because Sorosh is supposed to act as a sentient container of his animosity. And upon doing so, he kind of reintroduces his old way of life back to himself. It's like he was a shard of his former self to be regal in presentation for more politics by Marika's side. And by this point, he, as he would say, he gives you courtesy. And once you defeat his first phase, he says, I've given you courtesy enough. And he dispatches of Sorosh and becomes Horalu, warrior. That introduction, so cool. And his attacks become much more barehanded. No longer does he fight with courtesy. He is just an animal. He's just ripping through flesh, trying to grab you. It's like he's like a wrestler. Crazy strong. But the real cool shit is what happens after this fight. And you enter the Erd Tree. And you see Radagon trying to reforge the Elden Ring. And he detects that you enter. And the rings of his hammer stop. He turns slowly, faces you, and then the music kicks in. And the music had such a profound effect on me. It was like, because obviously you hear it in the title screen, and it's so cool how it kind of comes full circle and loops back. And it's like foreshadowing, and that just makes it hit even greater. And the piece itself is stunning. Great work. I listen to it from time to time. I love it a lot. That and Ludwig's theme and Cleric Beast. I love Bloodborne music. I haven't played the game, but I mean to someday. One way or another, if you know what I mean. I don't have a PlayStation. Yeah, so Radagon was one of my favorite bosses in the game. Not essentially because of the moveset, the lore implications, but it's like you've been playing this game for 70, 80 hours, and you're at this final fight, and it's just so good. I understand why Elden Beast is a fight that exists. I understand that his purpose is very defined. He's like this, he is law. He is Marika's law. He represents these greater wills. In terms of final fights, it's okay. I think I preferred Radagon. Fighting this hulking celestial dragon was pretty cool. But in FromSoft, I always prefer humanoid fights for great reason. Because, especially in Dark Souls, I think, works humanoid fights the greatest in the Soulsborne series. Or maybe Bloodborne. I haven't played it, so forgive me. Forgive my ignorance. But I like the implications of a humanoid fight in Dark Souls because it implies, yeah, everything that you fought to get here, they fought too. So they are at least as strong as you, if not even stronger. So, yeah, I don't know really what else to talk about. You beat Elden Beast and the world is yours. At that point, you become Elden Lord, Frenzied Lord of Flame, or whatever you chose to do. I think my first time I beat Elden Ring, I just got the Age of Fracture ending. But yeah, that was my experience with Elden Ring. I think next I might go and talk about the DLC. my memory should be much greater because that happened much more recently. I'm looking at my Mesmer figure right now. Greatest purchase I've made. At least of, that caliber of cost. Was it worth it? Debatable. But am I happy with it? Of course. I'm not sure if anyone's even gonna listen to this, because I'm not sure if I'm gonna upload it. I'd need to find footage and stuff to like B-roll essentially. This really just started as a test for my parametric equalizer, which I recently have just been studying how audio effects work and how this works. And I just wanted to gush about Elden Ring. Just so I can like listen to this again and remind myself of why I like the game so much. So yeah, thanks for listening. Okay.